Chris, Conor O'Neill from Devils Illustrated, Deacons Illustrated, both. He was there. That had to be fun. Duke electrifying the crowd, showing some defense. I thought it was all about defense. From your vantage point, what'd you got?
I thought it was all about defense. You could feel it was Cameron's going to be a factor in every home game, but it was one of those games where it kind of pushed it to the next level, and Cameron really was a factor in the game. Like, you felt the energy kind of build there in the second half, and it just kept building until what was an 11-point halftime deficit, I think was an 11-point lead there in the second half. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. It starts with defense, and really, it starts with the defense of Derek Lively the second. Like, that's the one that turned it around, and who would have thought? That's the area where he's been better. Like, offensively, he hasn't been great. Defensively, he's been a little bit better this year. But he got out on the perimeter and guarded some pit guards that have cooked guys.
Yeah, see, that to me, that was the eye-opening part of where that game really turned. Duke was already in the process of cutting into the lead. They had already made that like a 7-point game. It was the slowest 15-0 run I think I've ever seen from a Duke team that we normally associate with being offensively explosive. It was a slow bleed with that lead because Duke's offense really never got on track. It did ultimately score in transition and at the free throw line and on second chance opportunities. Okay. But the situations where Lively was forced to, where he had to switch onto guards and he was good, I thought was the difference in them really maybe completing that comeback. And then he did a couple of things offensively. Do you see more for him on the offensive end, or is it always going to be, just go get some offensive rebounds?
I don't think he's going to be what they thought he was going to be with as far as being on the perimeter, being a three-point shooter. Right. Like, you see highlights of him in AAU ball and he's hitting threes and taking dribble drives from the wing. I don't think that's going to be happening in the next 2 months. The drop step into a hook shot that tied the game at 52-52, if he gives you one or two of those a game with confidence, you take it. Like, I've talked to Aaron Beard and Steve Wiseman about this a couple times this year. It's not an explosive Duke team. They don't have the shooting that is going to lead to your quick lightning strike 8-0, 10-0, 12-0 runs. Right. It's going to have to happen on the defensive end and in transition. Where this Duke team has the capability of being better is on the defensive end. It's on, it's having 2 7-footers that can both step out there and guard a 6'3" perimeter guy and stay in front of them and then make it really difficult for them to get a shot off in the lane if they get past them. It's having guys like Tyrese Proctor be your point guard, and he's 6'5" and long. It's Mark Mitchell and Derek Whitehead giving you size and length on the perimeter, creating some steals, stripping and ripping as I mix up the beats here, as Steve Forbes likes to say, getting in the gaps and stripping and ripping. And when you do that, you create transition buckets, and getting out in transition, I mean, that's something that every young team loves to do, and that's no exception with this team.
Yeah, look, without Jeremy Roach, you knew the half-court offense was going to be a little bit of a work in progress, but it was probably the best game in a while for Proctor as well. I thought when they got out in transition, it was a little easier for him. Not easy, but easier. He still struggles to turn and beat his guy off the dribble, from the perimeter, and his shot hasn't shown up yet. It's still, I guess, down under. But, I mean, I thought he played a pretty good game last night, and maybe that's also encouraging.
I thought that was his best game so far. It's easy to say based on the stats, 14 points, 5 assists, and no turnovers, especially considering that it's his second game operating as the point guard. Like, he's got to be the point guard without Jeremy Roach in the lineup. And you're talking about a guy that goes out and has no turnovers against a Pitt defense that has experienced guards. Like, those are grown men that he's playing against. And for him to handle the pressure last night, I thought that was, it's crazy. You wind up, you talk about Derek Lively's impact on defense. You talk about Tyrese Proctor's game offensively and how he's handled the new role. And then we still haven't talked about Kyle Filipowski having 28 and 15. It's kind of crazy that feels like a tertiary factor in this game, but it really was. Like it was Lively, it was Proctor, it was Whitehead doing a couple things in transition. It was Jacob Grandison with a big corner three there when Pitt looked like they were going to push back into the game. So it was, it's the old cliche. It was a team win, but it really was a team win. Like John Shire said it. It felt like in that second half, everybody on the team found some way, some kind of role to fill, some kind of void to fill, and that's how you make up an 11-point halftime deficit.
Yeah, it feels like Jacob Grandison is he's not falling out of the rotation because John, I think, has done a good job of playing all of the guys available to him. But it does seem like, and I have to go back and look at it, that the minutes have not been, all that abundant for Grandison. But I was wondering going into the game, could Grandison be part of the mix in running the offense? Because he seems like he's got that hybrid game, and I don't know really. It pretty much was Proctor pretty much all night who had the ball in his hand and creating, but I think Grandison can really help. He's also a veteran guy.
Yeah, he's a veteran. I just think he didn't do that much at Illinois. Like he was a lot more conditioned to be a small four spot. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. It was easy to be a 4 at Illinois when your 5 is Kofi Cockburn. And he's going to grab everything. And he's going to make up for every deficiency in interior defense. I think Jacob is what he is. Like he is a good, consistent 3-point threat.
Yeah.
He's going to make the right plays. One of the things John is looking for is just who's going to play hard defensively. And that's why he loves going to Grandison and Blake's off the bench in certain spots. You can see it when he feels like the defense is slipping. Those are the first 2 guys that he goes to.
Conor O'Neill from Deacons and Devils Illustrated. I guess this is Devils Illustrated. His Twitter at Conor O'Neill _DI serves both purposes. First of all, we know Jeremy Roach is not playing at Clemson. But does John have an idea of how much longer that it's going to take, or because it's a toe, we just have no clue?
I had somebody put on my message board when the injury first happened, like, oh no, not the toe, anything but the toe.
Right.
There's still some Kyrie Irving scar tissue there.
Sure.
With Duke fans. I think he's playing against Miami. I think John has a good handle on it. It's going to bother him all season. It's not a situation where he's going to magically wake up one day and it's not going to bother him. It's going to be painful for him. The rest right now is to get the pain under his threshold so that he can play through it and feel like he's at least close to 100%. He's never going to be right until you're probably going to see something within a week or 2 of Duke's last game, whenever that happens, that says Jeremy Roach has undergone a procedure for a toe injury, suffered all the way back at the end of November.
That's no good. Look, I don't know if this team can win a national championship. I think they can make a deep run, which to me is win twice in an NCAA tournament, but I don't know if they can win a title, but I know they can't do any of it without Jeremy Roach. I think ultimately when they play the best teams, the offense without Roach is just going to be a very difficult one to negotiate. Real quick, and I know you were at Cameron last night, but just overall thoughts on what you have seen from the Demon Deacons, who their core last night was just incredibly efficient. Like 23 of 32 from the floor, 8 of 10 from 3-point range. We know that Steve Forbes can coach. So, that is just a given. But he seems like he's got at least enough to be a factor every night.
So you're talking about 3 20-point games last night, and not one of them was turned in by the guy that is probably a first-team All-ACC player at this point in Tyree Appleby.
Yeah, right.
He's he's all the way down there with 16 points and 8 assists.
Yeah, 8 assists were good, though.
Yeah. 3 steals to go along with it. I mean, Steve can coach, and Steve can evaluate the transfer portal. Steve knows exactly what he wants to get out of the transfer portal when he goes into it. The thing that I think we need to talk more about is how he puts together a roster and builds chemistry in a short amount of time. Like, this is another team with so many newcomers that come in and they immediately know how to play off each other. They know who likes the ball where, what shooting pockets to hit, whose spots are in which places. And man, you're right. They're going to be a factor. Like, they're going to play really good offense. It's going to be a matter of, can they play defense for long enough and well enough to score some more quad one wins? That's where you get to talking about, you want to compare to last year. They're already ahead of the game last year. They have the win at Wisconsin in the belt, in the bank, and a home win against Duke. And so, it's really, to me, it's a team that turned their season around with 2 games. They went to Rutgers and got annihilated, and they turned around 3 days later and beat Duke at home. Again,
he's a great coach. I think he is walking chemistry also. I think Forbes' personality is just, it lends itself to good chemistry, because how would you not like to be around the guy, right? I mean, he just seems like such a genuinely fun human being, as you are. Conor O'Neill, at Conor O'Neill _DI. Devils Illustrated, Deacons Illustrated. If there was another D involved, I'm sure we can illustrate that as well. Conor, be well. I appreciate your time. Happy New Year. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate it.
You got